through hard work, dedication, and commitment. What begins as one person's dream can become a nation's greatest memory. At Indeed, we help people turn their hard work and talent into jobs every day, helping them achieve their dreams and goals. Which is why Indeed is honoured to support Team Ireland on the road to Tokyo 2020, to go over there and get the job done.
So indeed, as part of the Team Ireland heading out to Tokyo, one of their great partners. And joining me this morning to talk a little bit about that partnership is Conor Byrne, the Global Marketing Director for the company. You're very welcome to Sport for Business, Conor.
Great, Rob. Thanks for having me. It's good to chat to you today.
Tell me a little bit about the company and why you felt that partnering with Team Ireland was going to be a win for you when you came on board back in 2019.
Yeah, well, for those that don't know, Indeed is the world's largest job site, and we are present in 60 plus markets. But obviously, in Dublin, we've a huge presence. We have a lot of staff in Dublin, and we service EMEA from our offices in Dublin. So it's a hugely important strategic office for us. And so what we were looking to do was really figure out how we could partner with somebody that was going to enable us the opportunity to really demonstrate our commitment to the Irish market. And we looked lots of different opportunities. And the great thing, I think, with sport is there's lots of different opportunities and ways to go with it. And I think it's about finding the right fit. And I think the right fit in a couple of ways. The right fit in terms of there's an alignment in your missions, there's alignment in what you're trying to do, but also there's a group of people that you're going to be able to work well with, right? And so, we met the team at Team Ireland, and, let's call a spade a spade. They were coming off probably a period that wasn't so comfortable for them, and they had done a lot of work behind the scenes to really try, reposition themselves and the brand, and we really liked what they were doing and what they were kind of talking to us about. And then there was just this, that kind of alignment of our brands and our mission. So Indeed, we're about helping people get jobs, and we really have this belief that all people have the opportunity to do great things in their careers, and we have as you can see here, that line about unleashing talent on the world, and we felt this really kind of powerful message that we could talk about, the Irish athletes who were going to go to Tokyo and do that and unleash their talents in the world. And, we had the opportunity to speak to some of the athletes and really understand kind of the things they were going through to do that. And so that really kind of tied to our belief about, how work is such an important thing and such an important part of what you do. And, it does allow you kind of unleash your talents in the world in whatever way that is. So there was just that kind of meeting of all these different things along the way. And, the folks at Team Ireland weren't kind of saying, here's a package and that's it. And it was like off the shelf. There was a lot of working with them to figure out what was right for us and right for them. And, so it just kind of was all the right things kind of came into place at the right time, which is, I think, when these things work.
As a multinational company, obviously you've got a workforce here as well, which is drawn from many different countries. And is the international nature, the global nature of the Olympics was obviously something that was important. Was that part of your criteria when you were looking for a property to get involved with?
Well, one of the criteria was around, our employee engagement. So how we could really, work with, an opportunity that would give our employees the opportunity to get engaged with something. So that was important. So yes, certainly, the Olympics has that global feel, global sense to it. All of our Indeed employees, will watch and support their own teams. But like, what's really interesting is people who've, lived in Ireland, for a number of years, but are from maybe originally other countries, have that sense of, well, yes, I'm going to support Italy, but I kind of also going to support the Irish team as well, because they definitely feel a bit Irish. And so that was a huge benefit for us, thinking about the partnership.
It's not a bad place to be everybody's second favorite team and athlete. So I'm sure
Exactly,
that
yeah.
will go down well. We'll talk a little bit about the ways in which you actually brought the partnership to life, but we can't avoid the biggest element of this was that you were on board in 2019. You were planning for an Olympic Games in 2020. The world was in a good place, and then all of a sudden, March of 2020 brought it all crashing down. How difficult has it been to keep the momentum in the partnership going over that extended 12 months?
Well, look, at that moment, thinking back to that time last year, and we watched kind of the wave of COVID. As a global business, we were seeing the impact on our business in markets like, Singapore and Japan very early. And so we were watching this knowing this was going to be hugely impactful in lots of different ways. And so, as that kind of just transpired and we knew the games were going to be postponed, there was a period where we just didn't know what was going to happen. Would they, wouldn't they? And that was kind of trying to have, plan A and plan B. So have everything in place to go if it happens. And then plan B, which is like, okay, what do we do if it doesn't go ahead? And it didn't go ahead. And I think one of the key things we did, again, it goes back to that relationship we had with the Team Ireland team, is we were able to work with them and say, okay, what do we do now? Because at that moment, it wasn't even clear, would it go ahead and later in the year in 2021, what the plans were. And so we really looked at what we could do. And I think going back to then some of our internal employee engagement things, what were the things we could do? So I think at that time, obviously, there was a lot of, stress around, like there was a huge amount of stress in the world. And we looked at seeing how do athletes deal with stress, and how could we take some of that and, help our employees use some of those techniques to deal with their own stress. And so they were kind of some of the ways we kind of kept it alive. And then really it was about planning then for when we knew that the games would be going ahead, and making sure we had all the great plans we had last year. Thankfully they, a lot of them are still things we're gonna go live and execute. So it was making sure we were able to get all that in place.
It may indeed have been something of a bonus almost, because you're working with a group for whom high performance in the role which they've accepted for themselves is absolutely critical to their overall performance. And there's obviously lessons to be learned from that for all of us in the working world. So could the extra 12 months have in fact enabled you to learn even a little bit more? And what were some of those learnings?
Yeah, for me, perseverance was one of the things that just came through. Like Sunita is one of our ambassadors, and Sunita was double world champion, like phenomenal athlete. And you look at, and we were down filming with her pre to everything being cancelled, and we saw her training, we saw her schedule, we saw the impact it had on her everyday life. And just then to see how does she react to that? And we were actually sending messages to her and our other athletes and agents, going like, we're thinking of you because we know how difficult this must be. And it was just their perseverance and ability to stay focused on that goal that they have and still have. And I just think that's phenomenal. And they dedicate so much of themselves to this. Yeah, it's a phenomenal thing. So for me, that was something that really came through for us, was that perseverance and kind of just keep going no matter what's thrown at you. And I think that was certainly something that we all took away from it. Like we're all feeling, and we're feeling this like wave of a pandemic, and how can we persevere through it? So certainly got that out of it.
Sport is one of those things, there's a start line, there's a finish line, and you do what you can between them. But perhaps the most interesting stories are the ones where a wave crashes in on top, and that's exactly what's happened here. So It was good timing to be there. Looking at it from the coaching perspective as well, one of the features that you brought in was the career coach. Very powerful video with Byrne, high performance manager in the boxing team as well. What was the thinking behind that? Because that rolled out into a much greater extent within the organization, didn't it?
Yeah, that's been phenomenal. And again, that goes back to, how we can tie to, our mission and our beliefs and helping people get jobs. And it became clear early in our conversations and our, discussions with Team Ireland that, huge challenge for athletes is thinking about life after the sport, because again, they are singularly focused on a goal. And for many, it's, getting to the games, winning the medals, and anything else outside of that can seem like a distraction. And we heard from many, and Byrne being one, and you're right, his video is just incredible. And he's very open and honest about it, that he, when his career, when it ended and he chose, that the time to retire, but he was like, oh, what do I do now? What do I do now? And that had such a profound impact from him, I think, in a really positive way, because he's like, I don't want other athletes to have that moment where they're like, I just don't even know what to do now. So he was really instrumental. I can still picture us sitting in the canteen in our office in Grand Canal Dock talking to Bernard. And that was fascinating, because Bernard Dunn walks into the building and all our Irish employees are going, that's Bernard Dunn, right? So, and that was great. But, we sat there and we talked about it, and he just really told us his story and was like, how can you guys help athletes? And so that's what we come up with the career coach program. And, Alma, who's on my team, just took it on. Like, she was so passionate about this herself as well. And she's like, I want to deliver this program. And then we had huge amount of internal engagement with our own, learning and development and training teams and HR teams, and when we asked, we said, look, would you do a session training on interview skills or how to write a CV or storytelling? And everyone's like, yes, I'm happy to do this and happy to, figure out a way to help the athletes think about this. So that was phenomenal. Even, our CEO, Chris Himes, sent a message to the performance directors when we did an internal briefing with them to explain what we were doing, talking about why he thought this was an important thing to do. So it was supported right the way from our CEO to everybody at, in our Dublin office who wanted to actually help and deliver, the training, which is, it's been really impactful. And it's interesting, we talk to others in, other sports, and we hear the same thing. We hear it's a universal challenge, how elite athletes, come to the end of their careers and haven't always thought about, not all of them obviously, but haven't always kind of thought about, what next and how do I transition? Because the skill sets they have are phenomenal, right? That you would want on any team. And so, but it's about starting the thinking and not having it a distraction, but actually enhancing some of your skills. And yeah, so it's been an amazing program.
And of course, for many, they're coming into the workplace a good decade or half a generation later than their peers. So that's a challenge in itself. And most of us have got 40 or 50 years to prepare for retirement, whereas they can have it landed on them with the single snap of a tendon or anything else. So that's a really powerful thing to learn. In terms of change, obviously you're in the workspace of workspaces, and the pandemic has changed everything. We're doing this interview over Zoom, as indeed most of us will have lived our lives in a working environment over this time. How do you see the emergence of a new workplace environment coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to happen, and I think it's going to be the balance of the good of what we've discovered through this and the good of what we had before. And I think that's what's going to come out of it. I think, there's an amazing amount of work that goes on when you're in an office and you can meet people and collaborate and just even get the buzz out of being in an office and a bit of the fun. And, I think how we retain that, and then some of the other things that people, have been able to do. There's people in Indeed now that have, moved to different parts of the country because they're able to now work remotely, or, aren't commuting as much as they were. And that's made a difference to their lifestyle. So I think it's going to be a balance of the two. And it's going to be different for every organization, right? It's going to be different for every company, and it's going to be different for every person. We've talked in Indeed about, different people's level of comfort with, different situations. Some people are comfortable going to the cinema now, some people aren't, some people are, and so it's about finding that balance that makes, I think employees feel comfortable in the new work environment and making them feel safe when they're there. And we have an amazing employee experience team that do all that work, that make people feel really comfortable when we go back to the office. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And things like, will we travel as much? Who knows? There's good and bad in that as well. So we'll see what happens.
So my guess is that, like in Tokyo, you won't be gathering together to watch the Olympics unfold over a great company barbecue.
No.
What are the plans for bringing it through to its natural point of conclusion now? So you've been on board for a couple of years. You've produced some great content. Now here we stand on the cusp of the games taking place. What's the Indeed approach to that going to be?
Yeah, look, I think, the next couple of weeks are going to be about how we kind of just amplify the partnership and give our employees some opportunities to be out there celebrating it and, sharing with their networks that indeed are proud to partner Team Ireland and, help them unleash their talent at Tokyo. And that's really what we're going to look to do. So we have a couple of things coming up over the next couple of weeks that people will see. And it's really about celebrating that talent at Tokyo and celebrating not just our ambassadors, but all the athletes that are there. It's like a record number of athletes going to the games from Ireland. And again, I think that's a testament to the work done by the Sport Ireland, the Olympic Federation, Team Ireland. It's an incredible system they have now in place. And so, yeah, we just want to give our team and our employees the opportunity to just cheer on. And you're right, we this amazing rooftop in our building in Grand Canal Dock. We won't be there celebrating, but look, who knows? Come September, we may be able to do something to celebrate, all the great work that the athletes do at the games in Tokyo. So we'll play some of those things by ear, but we definitely have some things coming in the next couple of weeks.
And sport has obviously been a winner in terms of helping you to tell the story of what you are and how you do it. Is there a natural end point to this at the end of the games, or is sport something that you'll consider as part of the marketing mix in the longer run as well?
Yeah, and look, we do sport in other places. So we, for example, sponsor Eintracht Frankfurt in Germany. We've done some sport previously in the US and in Japan. So it's certainly something, you're right, it's a great platform for us. And I think it's always about finding the right fit, in terms of what we're trying to achieve in a given market. But it's certainly, look, sport is just a thing that unifies people mostly. And, I think that gives you a great platform, great opportunity. So it's certainly something we look at and will continue to look at. But I certainly, we couldn't have asked for more out of our partnership with Team Ireland. It's definitely, we actually towards the start of or to the end of last year, actually, so it was mid-pandemic, we just asked employees how they were feeling about the partnership, because we were still doing a lot of stuff internally. And, I think it was, high 80% of people said they felt proud that Indeed was partnering with Team Ireland. So that's great, because that's what one of the key things we wanted to achieve, is that people felt proud of Indeed, proud of Indeed's partnership with Team Ireland, and proud of that work.
Well, you've done a great job on it so far. It's a model really for how you can work in the values and the benefits of an organization with the values and the benefits of working alongside a sports organization. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to bringing all of those new initiatives to our audience over the next couple of weeks and to enjoying the Olympics. It's been a pleasure talking to you today and working with you over the period of this partnership as well. So Conor Byrne, Global Marketing Director for Indeed for the moment. Thank you very much indeed.
Brilliant, Rob. Thanks a million.